nation which claims to be the world's largest democracy and brands itself as Vishv Guru, which is global teacher or the so-called leader of the world. India is anything but that. Let us see what this teacher teaches us. This global teacher illegally occupies a UN-recognized disputed territory, disregards UNSC resolutions, and shamelessly perpetuates its occupation of occupied Jammu and Kashmir. It violates every human right of the Kashmiris who are forced to live under its illegal occupation, carries out perpetual demographic engineering projects, and perpetrates collective punishment. While constructing a political edifice on communal, ethnic hatred and polarization, it not only threatens the enjoyment of human rights of its minorities, but assassinates dissidents extraterritorially in other sovereign states. India's perennial evasion of accountability for its crimes must come to an end. Mr. Vice President, India indeed is a global leader and global teacher when it comes to supporting, fueling, funding cross-border state-sponsored terrorism, while all the time it pretends to be a victim. While the list of crimes committed by this rogue state can go on, I wish to underline that the pain and suffering inflicted by its terrorist sponsorship has continually violated human rights of our people. Mr. Vice President, after launching unprovoked and unjustified cross-border attacks on civilians in Pakistan, India, in a deliberate act of incitement, blatantly weaponized water and gloated about threatening the well-being of 240 million people. Perhaps this is the ancient wisdom that the world's self-proclaimed teacher and leader aims to teach us. I thank you.
We are compelled once again to address provocations from a country whose own leadership recently likened it to a dump truck, perhaps an inadvertently apt metaphor for a state that continues to deposit recycled falsehoods and stale propaganda before this distinguished council. Pakistan's systematic abuse of this forum, coupled with its routine manipulation of the OIC as its mouthpiece, has become a familiar pattern. Its pathological fixation on India appears to provide it with existential validation. Yet, we must respond, lest we forget. Lest we forget the carnage of Pahalgam, where Pakistan-sponsored terrorists turned a meadow of joy into a killing field in April this year. Lest we forget 9/11, as the world marks its anniversary tomorrow, even as we witness today the hypocrisy of those who sheltered its mastermind and glorified him as a martyr. Lest we forget Pulwama, Uri, Pathankot, Mumbai. The list is endless, Mr. President. Yet, Pakistan demonstrates the audacity to take the floor today, feigning moral outrage while continuing to finance and shelter the very networks that threaten global security. The international community recognizes this charade for what it is. The world will not forget. India will not forget. Our measured and proportionate response to the Pahalgam attack made that sufficiently clear. We need no lessons from a terror sponsor, no sermons from a persecutor of minorities, no advice from a state that has squandered its own credibility. Mr. President, India will continue to protect its citizens with unwavering resolve. We will defend our sovereignty without compromise. And we will continue to expose time and again the elaborate deception of a failed state whose survival depends upon trafficking in terror and tragedy. Mr. President, we would also like to respond to the surprising, shallow, and ill-informed remarks made by Switzerland, a close friend and partner. As it holds the UNHRC presidency, it is all the more important for Switzerland to avoid wasting the Council's.
While we believe in constructive engagement with the civil society organizations and value their inputs, we urge you to ensure that no speaker violates the principles and purposes of the UN Charter and the territorial integrity of sovereign member states. We reject casting unfounded accusations and allegations. This August forum should not be allowed to be misused, especially by those who doctor videos, who doctor narratives, and now doctor facts. I thank you.
And Pakistan is another state sponsor of terror, so we thank their contribution.
Je donne la parole à Action for Development.
The representative of Israel perhaps did not listen attentively to all council members and other speakers in today's debate. And in our view, it is unacceptable, indeed ludicrous, for an aggressor, an occupier, a serial violator of UN Charter and international law.
You know, if the distinguished colleague from Pakistan wanted to read the statement, he could have done it at the beginning of the session. But I want to refer to your words. You know, maybe you got offended from the word of my speech, and I apologize for that. But I make sure that in my speech I stick to the facts. And the fact is that Osama bin Laden was killed in Pakistan, and no one condemned the US. And when other countries in this council attack terrorists, no one condemns them. And that is the issue of double standards. When you apply different standards on Israel, then the standard you apply on yourselves, that is the problem of this institution. So yes, you cannot change the fact that 9/11 happened, and today we mark this day. You cannot change the fact that Osama bin Laden was in Pakistan and he was killed on your territory. But I would ask you, when you criticize us, and I'm sure it will continue in the future, think about the issue of double standards, which standards you apply to your country and which standards you apply to Israel. Thank you, Mr. President.